In this episode of Mighty Car Mods, we've got an eBay performance chip.
This is going to be awesome.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods, proudly supported by Just Car Insurance.
Performance chips are all over eBay and they make massive promises.
And they make massive gains, don't they, Martin?
Apparently.
Well, this one here we got for only $19, all the way from Eastern Europe. It's made specifically for the Honda S2000 and it promises 35 horsepower.
So we've brought Moog's Honda S2000 down to Haltech and stuck it on the dyno.
And today we're going to install it and see exactly how much power we make and whether it actually blows up the engine. Nobody else, just for the record, by the way, nobody else was prepared to have their car down there running with an eBay chip on it, but I am. I'm willing to take one for the team, I'm willing to take one for science, and we're going to be VTECing our way all the way through an extra 35 horsepower thanks to Shmenenko Oneko Ishnapov. In Nishkan. Thanks to somewhere in Eastern Europe. Let's do this thing.
There are all sorts of cheap performance chips available that promise huge performance gains and better fuel economy. So today we're going to see if they actually work. Our chip promises 35 horsepower, but we have no idea of how it works or what it's going to do. We may end up today with a blown engine, but luckily we've got some expert help from the ECU specialists at Haltech.
So if you want to test an ECU, you need an ECU specialist. Dude. This tall man next to me here, what?
You're so short, man.
Look at it, he's a giant. He's awesome. He's got a giant heart too, though. He's a very friendly fellow. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are we doing this?
Yeah, you are.
Really?
Because I can't handle it, man.
I feel like Daryl Summers.
I can't watch it.
It's like Vicky.
Yes.
Is that all right?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, shall we just keep rolling this thing? Oh, g'day, mate. Okay, thanks so much. Okay. Just saying such nice things about you. All right, we are here with Scott from Haltech. He's an ECU specialist. He's got over a decade's worth of experience. Now, believe it or not, if there's a guy that's on the forum that you're part of called ECU53 with 32 posts, you actually know more. Is that correct?
I've been doing this for about 10 or 11 years, so I've seen a lot of products come and go, done a fair bit of testing.
Yes.
And I've read heaps of internet forums, so I know a fair bit of stuff.
Okay, have you ever been on the Mighty Car Mods forum?
A lot, yeah.
Oh, great.
I'm one of your members.
Excellent. Unreal. That's good to know. Now, have you ever installed an eBay ECU from the Ukraine?
No.
Okay, do you know anything about them?
No, I don't.
Okay, this is the good news. I've bought one. Here it is. So this was about $20. It's an S2000 kit, and it's designed specifically for the S2000 and promises 35 horsepower. Now, are you as excited as I am to open this up and have a look?
It depends on how much you paid for it.
They're about 20 bucks.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm worried about though, this is a that's like the normal size of like a Haltech ECU, isn't it?
That's a Haltech ECU, and that's how we ship them. Yeah.
It doesn't. Do you know what I mean? So that's concerning me a little bit already.
There's a difference in size and weight.
Are you ready for this? Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm genuinely incredibly excited. Oh, there's instructions and I've just torn them in half. All right, here we go. Okay. There's some instructions. And the unveiling, are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready? All right, so here it is. Look at that, Marty.
I'm looking.
It comes with a cable tie. Let's lay it out on the hand of a giant. This is exciting stuff, isn't it? So here it is. Crimp connectors, aren't they, for just splicing into the factory wiring? Is that
always
correct?
Quality. A couple of crimp connectors.
Look at that. There's another one of those. And here, this is where your money goes. This is the real deal. So this is our chip. Oh wow, that's just a sticker. Oh, made in Germany. Pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited. Okay, so it's got 3 modes here: performance, city drive, and fuel economy. Now, Scott, what do you think this is actually going to do?
I would guess that it's going to have power, ground, and then it'll intercept either an air temp sensor or a coolant temp sensor or something to try and trick the factory engine management into thinking that the engine is hotter or colder.
Right.
So putting it into some type of correction map.
So do you reckon inside here there's kind of not a computer at all, it's just some resistors?
Yeah, I think so.
Alrighty, so Scott, my question to you now is, you giant man with a massive heart who's so friendly, can Marty and I go and install this now? and then we run it on your dyno and see what it's actually doing.
Alright, that sounds like a plan.
We basically want to find out what is going on in that chip.
Alright, well, let's do a baseline run first, see how much power your car makes first of all. We'll install this.
It's a Honda, so your dyno may explode. Massively powerful, just saying. So this here's the instructions. It did say that it was an S2000 kit, but interestingly the instructions have got pictures of a Volkswagen engine. But this is our wiring diagram here. As you can see, it's splicing into the airflow meter.
Well, your chip's pretty straightforward. We've got ground, power, splicing into the inlet air temperature sensor, and then, so we're back to intercepting, there we go, we're intercepting the inlet air temp sensor.
Yep.
We've got splicing into the airflow meter, and looking at the O2 sensor as well. So it'll be doing some biasing on the O2 sensor signal, biasing the airflow meter, and then intercepting the air temp sensor, which is probably just a resistor across there.
Yeah.
This switch will turn the resistor on and off, and you're done.
Make sure the engine of your vehicle's turned off, remove the key from the ignition, disconnect the touch terminals, blah, 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 blah. Locate the intake air temperature and airflow meter sensors. Hack into them with those. This is going to be exciting. Oh, here's the best bit. Step 7, now use some electrical tape to wrap the wires. That's all.
Fully wrap.
Oh, sorry, to fully wrap the wires. You should also attach chip to some place in your car. Step 8, check it out, people. Step 8, you ready to go?
Assuming that it's going to blow, I kiss the VTEC goodbye as we load the Honda onto the dyno to get a baseline run for comparison.
So Scott, there's one slight issue with our install, and that is that our S2000 doesn't have a MAF or an airflow meter, but this wants a MAF signal.
For sure. All right, so what's happening here with the chip, we're splicing into the mass airflow signal wire.
Yep.
The Honda doesn't actually have an airflow meter. It uses a map sensor for the load source, so to measure how much air is going into the engine. The best we can do, what if we splice that signal wire into the manifold pressure?
Yep.
That way it's still biasing the load source and it's still giving it the best chance.
Yep, because all this wants to know is how much air it's getting. The airflow meter can't tell us because there isn't one, so we use a map sensor instead.
Perfect.
Mad.
The S2000 is strapped down and ready to do 3 initial runs. This'll give us a good solid figure to use as our control. Okay, let's do the first run. We've got 131 kilowatts. Time for another run. And listen to that VTEC. We've got 132 kilowatts. We'll do one more run now that everything's warmed up. We've got a solid baseline of 132 kilowatts at the wheels.
So Scott, looks like we've got around 132.
Look, it's pretty consistent. We've just done 3 power runs on it.
Yep.
So you can see here with temperature, it's gotten richer and richer and richer as we're thrashing it more and more. We can see the VTEC yo coming on about here somewhere. And you can definitely hear the induction noise when it comes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Has it made you feel like buying a Honda now? Like, have you got that VTEC that's kind of squirrely feeling in your nether regions? You know, that kind of hairy, shivery feeling?
Probably the closest you're going to get to a boosted car without having it boosted or making any power.
Everything on the chip is written in horsepower, but this is kilowatts. Can we actually change this so our metric is horsepower? So that way we've got a perfect alignment of what the chip is claiming and what we're seeing here.
No worries, I'll go U for units. Change it across to Imperial. 177 horsepower.
All right, so that's great because really at 177 we should be seeing around 210 horsepower. I mean, at least 200 horsepower, but if it's 35 more than that, we should be seeing around 210 horsepower on the next run once the chip's in, right?
Absolutely. Let's install it and get you to 210.
The roof goes down so we've got more light and room to work. Next up, we access the factory ECU, which in our car is located in the passenger footwell. Then we use a pinout which we printed off the internet to see which wires to splice into.
So Scott, I guess the interesting thing now is to see if we actually see any activity on the multimeter by just measuring the difference between these wires, because this is where we're actually splicing, right?
For sure. So all I want to do here, we'll just measure this signal, flick the switch, and we'll just see if the resistance changes, if it just pulls in and out a resistor or just something simple like that.
Yeah, so it's not doing anything at all.
It's not doing anything, so the multimeter is telling us that it's just directly connected together inside.
Yeah.
Admittedly, we haven't powered it up yet either, so...
Maybe once this LED is VTECing, then the rest of it will work.
It's looking more promising than a simple resistor at the moment, so that's kind of nice.
That's good. Yeah, that's good news. All right, cool.
All right, let's splice it on.
We wanted to install the performance chip using only what was provided in the kit, but the supplied components were not really up to the task.
The idea of these, which everybody here says are terrible and shouldn't be used, is that you just put the wires in and then you squash them together, and that there cuts the wires, therefore creating the connection, so it splices them together. The problem with them is that once you've actually crimped it together, you don't actually know if the wires have been spliced together or not, because you can't see. You've got to take it off again and see if the wires have been cut, therefore negating its efficacy.
And it turned out that this is exactly what happened.
It didn't actually cut either side. It didn't get either wire.
We've decided in this case that we're just going to twist and tape.
The unit is working. Well, when I say it's working, there is an LED that comes on.
Something's happening. So we've got city driving with no light, fuel economy, red,
red light,
performance, green.
All right. I might just put that down there.
Is there a possibility that that whole circuit board is for a different coloured LED? Just when you flick a switch, it's got power underground. When you flick a switch, it goes different colours. How would anyone actually know if their car's going harder or not?
We're about to find out, Martin, because we're here with the BFG. Okay, so we've just put ground and power into the performance chip, and it is powering up and working. Well, when I say it's powering up and working, there's an LED light that comes on. When it's just on city driving, there's no light at all. That's in the middle. When you're on fuel saving mode, don't know why you'd use that, a red LED comes on, and when you're in performance mode, a green LED comes on. Now, the loom isn't actually long enough for Australian cars because you're meant to be able to reach and kind of adjust that. Obviously, on USDM cars, the ECU is on the same side as the driver, so I guess you're meant to reach down and flick that on and off. So it is powering up and it is working so far. Now we start intercepting and interfacing and intergalacting our VTEC and then throw it back on the dyno and see what happens. But I'm just really excited that it powered up in the first place because I've got a good feeling about this, Martin. I'm feeling pretty pumped about it.
You think it's actually going to make power?
I think we're going to be VTECioing.
Really?
I think
as in that dynograph's going to like crack over 200 just with this little chip?
For 20 bucks, I think so.
I'll be highly impressed if it does.
Yeah.
I'll also be skeptical as to how it's doing it and if it's going to ruin our...
We're going to find out all these things, Martin. It's going to be incredible.
We continue the installation exactly as described in the instructions.
Okay, so everything is wired up except for one of the signal wires that is meant to go into the MAF sensor, but we're going to start the car and make sure there's no check engine lights before we put that signal wire on the MAP sensor. You're coming with us live. Let's see if we get any check engine lights. Yo. We're good.
So far so good.
Still got power down there as well. Operational.
You're in race mode.
Race mode. I'm always in race mode. It's a Honda.
Economy mode. Race mode, economy mode. Race mode, economy mode. Standard.
We finished the installation and I've got mixed feelings. Is this simple install really going to give me 35 horsepower, or is my engine about to go kablamo?
We're good.
Good to go.
We are ready for a dyno run. I'm ready for my extra 35 horsepower, damn it. Okay, so the performance chip has been installed. It's about 5 wires, and now, Marty, the tension. Can you feel it?
I can feel the tension, and the chip's been flicked into race mode, or is it
performance mode,
is
Martin?
It extra VTEC unicorn fart mode?
That's right. It's going to add 20 unicorns in there. which is pretty amazing. So you've got your city driving mode, your normal fuel saving mode, and then unicorn mode, which is what we're going into now.
I haven't been this excited about anything since at least this morning when I ate cereal for breakfast.
And then drove your MX-5 here.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, right. Well, the thing is for you to keep your eyes on now, people, is the dyno run here, we should be getting over 200 horsepower. And if we get that for our $20 eBay chip, I'm just going to put it out there and say that is pretty incredible. What do you think is going to happen now?
To be honest, I don't think anything's going to happen. I think it's going to make the same power. If it does make more power, the closed loop strategy of the fueling on the ECU, the next power on will probably correct whatever corrections this thing's making and bring it back down to the same air fuel ratio and the same ignition timing, which will make the same power.
Scott climbs in and we're going for our first run in our new performance mode. We've got 177 horsepower, exactly the same figure as our baseline run. We do 2 more runs and the best we get is 179, which is not a quantifiable or noticeable increase in power.
We'll load run 3, so the third run with the car standard, and run 6, so the third run of the car after it's had the chip done.
Yep.
The reason why we do the third run, the first 2 runs will obviously heat the engine up, get the under bonnet temperature right. The third run, all the corrections are getting
stabilised and everything's working at its optimum, right?
Perfect. Yep. So we'll load the third run, 003.
All right, so we made 177 horsepower. So our next run, we should have been making 210.
Okay, so we will load 006. Okay.
2 horsepower. Which is
it
hasn't actually made 2 horsepower, has it?
It's made 2 horsepower. That was the difference across a couple of hours. The air fuel ratio is absolutely identical. Everything's exactly the same. The 2 horsepower difference is going to be a difference in the way the car was loaded on the dyno originally, the under bonnet temperature, something like that.
It's a negligible amount and not something that you would feel or notice anyway. So the outcome is that we can see from the mixtures and the power, the chip's actually doing nothing. Is that right? I mean, we could turn the chip off now and do another run and possibly make more power just to prove how negligible that amount is.
We can definitely go back again, so we can pull the chip off pretty quick.
Yep.
Do another power run and go back and get between 177 to 179 horsepower.
So we've got our performance chip on performance mode, which I'm pretty sure is the green light, or it could be the red light. So we're just gonna turn the ignition on. Right, so it's in green mode, which is performance. Let's try one of the other modes. It's got 2 others. Let's try fuel economy, and that's a red light, and see if that makes any difference to our mixtures. Is what we're most interested in, power, whatever. We want to see if it's actually adjusting anything or if it's just dumb.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that there could have been a problem with that circuit, that the switch is around the wrong way. The sticker could be printed incorrectly, so at least now we're doing the exact opposite position that it was in before.
Yeah.
So let's give that a go.
See if we get more VTEC, yo.
In fuel saving mode, we've got 179 horsepower again, so we decide to switch it to city driving mode and do another run. We've got 179 horsepower again. We've made no power, so we decide to bypass the chip completely and do another run. And no surprises here, we've got exactly the same power, 179 horsepower. The performance chip is not doing anything.
Realistically, it doesn't matter what it has, it's not doing anything. The mixtures have changed by a very, very small percentage, which is all due to just doing 9 power runs on it. It's heat soaked now, that's all there is to it. The power, the mixtures are identical.
Right.
So no change, sorry.
Wow. Money wasted, doesn't work. All right.
Okay, so we have proven repeatedly that it makes no power, is that correct?
It's nothing at all.
No extra unicorns, no extra yo.
4 kilowatts.
Just nothing.
No kilowatts, no percentages, no horsepowers.
Yeah. So the question is though, how can we now see what it is or isn't doing?
Alright, because we don't have a factory scan tool, we can't really look at what the air temp going into the factory computer is doing. I do have a plug-in ECU for this car. So what I can actually do is put this straight into your factory connector, use my laptop to go online with it, and we'll just flick the switch around and look at the air temp, see what the air temp's actually doing, and see how much it's biasing it, or if it is even doing anything at all.
Right, so via this is basically going to act as a translator between the performance chip and whatever it's doing or not doing, going through this out to the laptop, so we actually have a quantifiable way of seeing what's changing, if anything.
Perfect.
And if nothing's changing, or even if something is changing, after we dissect it.
I swap out the factory ECU for the aftermarket Haltech unit. It's so easy that if you've ever plugged in a USB cable, you'd literally be able to do it. It takes less than 30 seconds. We then plug a USB cable into the Haltech ECU so we can view the results on the computer.
I can't believe how easy it is to install that.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
A true direct plug-in, yeah. So
that's proper bolt-on, bolt-in, plug-in, plug-on, attach.
for an aspirated car, there are tuning advantages for it. Obviously, with this sort of, as soon as you turbocharge this, having a plug-in ECU like that makes a bit of a difference. So that's fine for supercharged, nitrous, turbocharged applications, or strokers as well.
I like the sounds of all of those options.
Don't get any ideas, man.
Smash that MX-5 once and for all. Okay, so these are the three parts that we actually hacked into. So we've got the air temperature sensor, the O2 sensor, and the manifold pressure, which is the map. So the thing is, what we should be seeing is now, when we activate the switch and turn it on, the performance chip, we should be seeing changes to these values. If we don't see changes, then it's literally not doing anything. So it's bypassed at the moment. So if we flick it, we should see changes if it's actually working.
Okay, so we've gone to red now.
Yep.
Off, red, off, red.
And then performance mode, green.
Green, off, green. So there's no
So it's literally
change.
doing nothing. So everything we've spliced into, it's not actually affecting at all.
So the three signals that we've looked at, there's no change at all. Nothing. Yeah, nothing's happening.
I hate that. I hate that thing. It's right there. It's the worst thing about this car. Every time you put your foot there, look at it go. I know, I'm sorry, but it's the worst design ever. I've just got everyone wet. It's because it's a Honda. Anyway, back to the lab.
And this is the bit I've been waiting for. We're going to pull it apart and see what's inside. There's a huge amount of glue, and much to our surprise, there's actually a circuit inside. But all of the markings on the chips have been scratched off.
Alright, so we have finished our experiment, and in a way we have left ourselves with more questions than we have answers. This is what the unit actually looks like inside. It does look like it's doing something, but because all the chips have got the data scratched off them, you know, the codes, we don't actually know what is on there. How are you feeling about this, Martin?
I'm kind of the thought that, like, it looks like an actual proper thing. It looks like it does something, and I'll give it points for that, and it's got a little flashy LED. But if you bought it and you put it in your car and you didn't have a dyno, and then you went for a drive and went, oh yeah, it's definitely faster, hang on, I'll flick it to green. Oh, it's even faster again. It's like, but is it? How do you know? We measured it, you know?
The fact is that we've measured it with a multimeter, we've measured it on the dyno, and we've come and like got it somebody who's qualified to do it, and we've seen no results. Even when we just checked with a multimeter on the bench, it's not doing anything. So the fact is that if you bought it and put it in your car, it's not doing anything. Like, it's literally not doing anything at all. The question is not about whether it works or not, because it doesn't work. The question is, why is there a chip inside, and what is that chip doing?
I'm surprised that it's got 3 surface mount chips in it and really, really small electronics. They're just resistors, but there is some technology in this. But whether it's technology to make us think it's actually doing something when you pull it apart and it's done nothing, which is exactly what it's done to us. That's all I think this technology is for.
Because this chip could be out of a singing toy, it could be out of a microwave, we don't know what it is, because it's interesting that they've scratched all the information. Like, why would someone do that? What is the motivation for making sure we don't know what's on those chips?
There's no answer, and I think that's why those chips are there.
You know, my only other thought about this as well is, right, so you're messing around with your ECU. If you get it wrong, I mean, you've got 5-volt sensors, right? You've got 12-volt power supplies, grounds, all that stuff, signals going on in your very delicate ECU. If you go bang bang and get it wrong, and you stick 12 volts through 5 volts, you let the smoke out.
You'll be up for an ECU.
And your ECU's dead. And if you've got an old crappy car, that's cheap. If you've got an S2000, I don't imagine that's cheap. So that's my other thought about.
Well, you know, on that,
to.
let's look at those costs quickly. So this thing here is about 20 bucks. We've been on the dyno for a couple of hours practicing, so all up, that's probably $400 or $500 right spent. If this is just offering some resistance, a resistor from J-Car's how much?
15 cents, mate.
15 cents max. So you've still got 15 cents per versus $20. Possibly this circuit, even though it's complicated, is controlling different colors on an LED.
Yeah, it's possible.
And the rest of it is, we just don't know. What we do know is that it does not work. So I would say use your money to buy yourself a tofu burger instead.
Not content without having solid evidence that this is a scam, we sent the chip away to be investigated by an electrical engineer. Jenga from the Mighty Car Mods forum sent us back his findings, which are nothing short of astounding. The circuits are connected to make it look like it does something, but the chips are cleverly hooked up in a way that it doesn't perform any function whatsoever. The intake air temperature that the performance chip is meant to intercept is actually just a straight through connection. The signal is not modified at all. The MAF and O2 lines are not connected, but it's made to look like they are. So the signals literally just pass through to the ECU exactly the same as if there was no chip at all. So what does it do? The battery connections and switch are literally designed to change the colour of the LED light.
You know what, I'll be completely honest. Now that I have owned it a little while and the love's dwindled a tiny bit, it's all a lag without the boost, isn't it? Like you're waiting, you hit VTEC in any gear and you're over the speed limit. Waiting, VTEC kicks in, and then it doesn't really do a lot, does it?
It sounds good.